What is up? Guys, we're back. And I know I was a little mellow last week and, things were kind of jolly and happy-go-lucky, but I gotta say, I've had a rough week, Eric. I got a lot on my mind, and before we get into it, we're 3 and out. I'm Marco Barron, and this is...
Eric Waldman.
We're back. It's episode 8. Yeah. Inevitably, we will talk week 7, but, between some of the stuff that happened in the NFL last week, I'm fired up this week. I'm fired up.
Good. We need to bring the energy back up.
That's right.
This week.
We do.
We do.
Energy's got to come back up. And before we get into the football stuff, big shout out to the New York Rangers.
Big shout out.
Who I believe started 2-1 and were winning tonight against the Red Wings.
They look good.
They look great. Very fast. Some of these young guys coming along.
They're finally playing that high tempo, Vigneault style.
Yeah, and Rick Nash looks a lot more comfortable in this new role, less relied upon. We got this wrong. I think the Rangers looked like they were going to be a disaster at the end of last season. That's all everyone was talking about.
Right.
So big shout out to Big Pins, Kenny. Don't touch them with your hands. Hanover to the Rangers. Quick score update for the Cubs. It is now 8-2. Man on second and third, top 6, I believe that says.
Yeah, Cubs are still up.
So Cubs look unbelievable. I believe that Zobra's safe for first. Huge potential win right here after this looked like the most stale offense in the league. I was very nervous.
Yeah.
2 years in a row, we're the hottest offense in baseball, and then all of a sudden we can't put a run on the board. Everyone's batting under 200.
You guys will be fine. You got a bunch of big bats.
So this was
starting to come around.
Huge breakout game. Addison Russell home run, Rizzo solo home run. Then he had a couple more RBIs. Zobrist is coming alive. So I'm feeling good. Hat tip to the Cubs. Hopefully they win tomorrow. We go back to Chicago happy. Next on the agenda, we're going to bring on a guest. Didn't hit you with a guest this week, or last week rather. We got one for you tonight. Everybody, welcome to the show. He's a returning guest, Ronnie the Bear Bucci. Give it up for Ronnie Bucci.
Right.
Great to be back. I think I'm the first returning guest. Am I right?
You absolutely are.
Oh, man. I feel special.
Yeah, well, your first appearance was a hit for us, and I think the fans really take to you. So, had to get you back on the show. Topic for tonight. I'm not going to talk to you about the Broncos because I think the AFC West is a little bit of turmoil right now. I think any one of those 4 teams could win a game against each other at this point. I don't think it's even worth analyzing it. I'm a little upset, obviously, after my loss. I think you're a little upset with some of the latest developments. What we do want to talk about is Hank Fraley. There was a big trade in our league, and I think this was probably the first blockbuster, if you will.
I don't remember another trade going.
The other trade was Sean as well.
The trade was the Terrell Pryor, Duke Johnson, Humphrey. This is the one that had Big Tom Clones.
Yes, and I think you mean Joshua Gordon. Who obviously went into trade. No worries, don't you worry. So, Eric, tell us what the trade was, and then tell us who the parties were.
Okay. I'm going to give you the parties. The trade was between me and Sean. Me being bottom of the barrel, I'm in last.
What's your record?
My team is terrible in this league. I'm 1-5. I think I'm dead last in points. Just miserable. I lost Woodhead. I lost Dez. I lost Decker. Reed's been terrible. Barnes has been terrible. Just everybody, top to bottom, has been terrible. So, and Sean, inversely, is in first. He's undefeated.
I think he has most points, too.
Maybe the most points in the league, too.
He's been dominant, at least second most points.
Now, if you don't remember, we had ripped Sean for his draft. He drafted 2 elite quarterbacks with Brady and Breeze.
Yep.
We didn't like it at all. We look like idiots now because he is in first. He's been killing it. But, so here, let's get to the trade. He has been trying to shop one of the 2 quarterbacks. He says for multiple weeks. I know I was even in talks with him last week about Brady, Breeze. We were working something. We couldn't get it done until we got back to this. So the trade, he is sending me Demaryius Thomas, Tom Brady, and Jamison Crowder
Okay.
in exchange for Mark Ingram, Devontae Parker, and Bilal Powell. So on paper, it doesn't look great for Sean. But he was really shopping one of his two quarterbacks hard. He's trying to get any value for them. And his point with me that he told me, he's like, I really want to solidify my running back spot. His only other two running backs, I believe, are Melvin Gordon and Duke Johnson. So
Correct.
he really wanted another guy who was
Correct.
like the bell cow of their respective team to be his number two. So this trade went through. Ronnie, you were very outspoken on our thread about it. I'll let you get right into it. Give us your thoughts.
Yes, absolutely. So when I initially looked right at the players that were being traded, it didn't make sense to me at all.
Essentially, Tom Brady, Demaryius Thomas. Tom Brady's arguably a top 5 player at his position. Demaryius
Thomas is top 20 player at his position, and Jamison Crowder has been a pretty reliable starter, especially in a 14-team league.
Uh-huh.
Then you go to the other side, and you have Devontae Parker, who has done nothing. You have Bilal Powell, who is a backup running back, whose only value comes when Matt Forte goes down. And then you have Mark Ingram, who's been RB2, potential RB1, gets decent workload. I, right away, was so vocal about it because I just do not see how you can give away top starters at two positions and get a borderline RB1, only one potential starter at one position. And then after talking to Sean, he basically was talking up how he couldn't trade Tom Brady, and I was like, all right, well, now you just forced this trade, and there was a market for them, and you just jumped into the first trade you get your hands on, and then he tried to talk up the upside of Devontae Parker, which in fantasy football, it's all about production. He hasn't produced anything, and he's trying to say he has more upside than Jamison Crowder. Jamison Crowder's been playing great on a team that has players who get injured all the time.
Devontae Parker, 2 games in double digits, 1 touchdown on the year.
Right. They're terrible sense.
Mark Ingram, 2 games of double-digit scoring on the year. Also, only 1 rushing touchdown. He might have a receiving touchdown thrown in there as well.
He does.
Well, Mark Ingram, he does have two big games, like you said, but in 2 games under 10 points, a 7-point game last week, and he's injury prone. So the thing that made me most upset about this trade is I don't think it hurt Sean that much because his team is stacked. I mean, he's in first place for a reason.
Yep.
And even with your team, it helps your team, in my opinion, but no offense, Eric, I'll say this as nice as I can, your team is terrible. And you got good players.
Lay it on
make
me.
it better, but you still have a long way to go.
No one questioned this guy's honesty.
No one questioned that. Yeah. Okay.
Ronnie, very astute observation.
And then when I look at my team and I see what he was giving up and what you were giving up to get,
Right.
it would have made perfect sense for something I could do. I have the running backs to give up that he wants. I have the shitty wide receivers that he thinks has upside that he may want. And that's what infuriated me the most. I mean, to give up 2 top 20 players at their position for one borderline top 20 players and then 2 players who they're not even in the top 50. So that was my initial concern. But I understand why it was done, but I am very upset about it.
I hear you. Fun fact here. Jamison Crowder, the weakest of the 3 players I'm receiving,
Yes.
has scored more points than all 3 players that I'm sending to Sean.
Wow.
Yes, exactly. And I discussed this with Sean, just, trying to feel him out, just to be like, what are you thinking? I don't get the argument he continued to make about Devontae Parker having upside. He's been in the league for 2 years, and he's done nothing, and he's like, about. If he's finally healthy, he did terrible last game. In a game he wasn't healthy. And you're basically saying, oh, the guy has talent. It's like Justin Hunter used to have talent. I mean, Rashad Perriman on my team has talent.
Yeah.
There's plenty of players in the league who have talent, but it's about production.
I know.
Thomas produced it.
I want to give Sean a little bit of the benefit of the doubt because not only because he's 5-0, but his player evaluation this year. I mean, it's not like, you can say, oh, he luck boxed and blah blah blah. But he went, the guys who hit for him, I mean, he went after,
Right.
he was all in on from the start.
Yeah.
And he gave us a great explanation on why Gordon was going to do it.
He was in on
and
Pryor.
he was in on Pryor.
Yeah.
And that's impressive to me.
Yeah.
So I feel like the Parker thing, I think, is the make or break for this trade.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Right now, totally toss-up between him and Crowder, I think.
Yeah.
Which makes the rest of the trade right off the bat completely
Right.
a wash and unfair, just for that reason alone. But, I mean, to be fair, Parker did finish the year strong
Very
last
strong.
year. But this Dolphins offense, outside from,
I think
Jazz,
his
functional.
value, Parker's value, has more to do with Tannenhill and the line's ability to keep him upright than Parker's play himself. I think he's been fine
Right.
as an individual, but the environment has not been so great for him. But that
Yeah.
all ties into a
Right.
player's fantasy value.
I mean, do either of you think that the big win against the Steelers is maybe a turning point for this team? That it's something that he thinks, maybe Parker didn't have the good game, but if this offense starts clicking,
We'll see.
Parker has better days ahead.
Parker's game could have been a lot bigger. I'm reading here. He had a touchdown dropped, clanked off his hands in the end zone.
Yeah.
And then he was also tackled inside the 5-yard
Well, that
line.
one I specifically saw because I was watching Red Zone. That I don't
So,
want
I mean, he ended the game 7 targets, 5 catches, 28 yards. If he has 2 touchdowns with a couple more catches there, his line looks, fantastic, and we could be saying otherwise about him. But, yeah, I totally get it. 2 games prior, he only had 3 targets in each game, 2 catches. Has only, as I said before, has had 2 productive games on the year so far.
Ron, I'm gonna give it back. I'm gonna give it back to you in a second. I want 2 points, quick points. I want to say one is I think at this point Ingram's name is a lot more valuable than the player he is. I think if you start doing this player A versus player B silent evaluations, all of a sudden Ingram pops. You're like, oh my god, I didn't realize that the guy's averaging 55 yards a game.
Yeah.
He's only got 1 touchdown on the ground. This is a Breeze offense now. It's running through the air. Second point would be Thomas Brady. A lot of experts moving forward will have him ranked as the number 1 quarterback. And I think this goes to show how difficult it is to move a quarterback in a league like this, even in a 14-teamer, where people feel comfortable streaming. I just picked up Marcus Mariota, and I'm going to start him, Ron. It's a 14-team league. So you cannot get top value, and it's why we really yelled at him that it was a 6th round. That's right. So, give me your take on that, and then we'll send you out.
Okay, yeah. Well, first, before I dive into that, I just want to touch on the whole Miami thing.
Oh, of course.
I do not see Miami making a move in the right direction at all. I feel like the Pittsburgh Steelers always have their fluky games on the road. They don't have the easiest defensive schedule coming up. I just don't see them as a good team. I don't see Tannehill as a smart quarterback.
Okay. That's very well said. They are atrocious away. That was the big loss against the Eagles too.
Yeah.
Who look like a much different team than we saw a couple weeks ago even. So that's a very good point. And your thoughts on this trade phenomenon on quarterbacks.
Right, and then you're absolutely right with the quarterback thing. I drafted Aaron Rodgers in the 4th. I think he was the 2nd quarterback off the board. Easily my biggest regret of the draft. Like you said, you're picking up Marcus Mariota, you're playing him. I mean, I wish I just took a chance on a running back in that location, knowing how many injuries there are and how running backs just go down so quickly.
Right. Well said.
If you just play matchups and don't draft quarterbacks, I mean, there are going to be people out there. I mean, Dak Prescott is on the waiver wire. Tyrod Taylor can have a big game. He's on the waiver wire. Jameis Winston, I mean, a team that has to throw know sometimes he's on the waiver wire. Like, if you pick matchups, then you can get away with that. So I understand that elite quarterbacks aren't as valuable. But it's just the players that Eric is giving away. Like you said, Mark Ingram is a name. He's not a pass catcher. And that's a Drew Brees offense. The only really successful running back was like Darren Sproles when he could run the ball a little bit and catch a ton of passes. Bilal Powell, actually, honestly, is one of the players I like the most from that side if Matt Forte goes down, though. If he doesn't, then it's just a terrible trade, and Bilal Powell will get you 5 to 10 points.
Yeah.
A little more to get the touchdown.
One thing I'll mention on that is, and I think, you, Eric, you think that I'm guessing, that Powell's arrow is pointing up because the snap count continues to rise. I think Forte actually had less than 50% of the snaps last game because they're in catch-up mode, because this team is such a disaster, which we'll get into. So, I don't know. What you're the Jet fan. What do you think about Powell?
I think Ronnie is pretty accurate with his assessment on Powell. Fun fact here, too. Powell actually has more targets on the year and more catches than Devontae Parker. But Powell's playing more snaps than Forte. He has been for the last 3 or so weeks. He's been the more productive back, but that's really not saying much. The Jets are not scoring. This is a bad team. This isn't like even a 500 team. The Jets are bad this year. They're not scoring a lot. They're not going to be in position to score a lot.
Right.
That touchdown you're hoping for, he has 0 touchdowns on the year, and I don't think you're going to see many out of him, regardless of how much playing time he's getting.
Right.
I think his ceiling is pretty limited with a moderately safe floor of what Ronnie said, maybe around an 8-point per game.
Right. Right.
Output.
No, it's true. So, yeah, I mean, but listen.
I got one last thing to say, too.
Go for it.
Is in fantasy football, I like to have players on good teams in general, and I don't, just because good teams have good offenses and they get, and I understand the need for garbage points. You feel like you might get behind, but just having teams that are going to win, usually they know how to spread the ball around and stuff. I mean, the players that he's giving away are all on playoff caliber teams. The players that Eric's giving away are on garbage teams.
That's a great point.
Well said. Very well said.
Thank you.
Well, Ron, we appreciate you coming on again. You're our first recurring guest, as we said.
You might be recurring every week. We'll see.
Some great,
I would love that.
great thoughts from you tonight, and once again, we really appreciate it.
Of course, anytime, guys. I'll talk to you later.
All right, Ron,
peace,
have a
man.
good one.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Fun fact on the quarterbacks, folks. Quarterbacks from Dak Prescott is better. Andy Dalton, Tyrod Taylor, Aaron Rodgers, Kirk Cousins, Eli Manning, Jameson Winston, and Blake Bortles. All guys who were... Again, carousel at quarterback. You can hit.
You can stream.
God, I wish I had held up. Matt Ryan is the number
14
one
teamer.
player in fantasy. That really hurts, but we'll move on, and we're going to move on to these guys right here, which we talked about a little.
Oh, boy.
I'm going to share my quick thoughts, and then I'm going to let you have the floor. But my observations from watching that game.
Yeah.
I had fun because my defense was able to beat CJ and hold off Brandon Marshall.
Okay.
However, it's a game, and now I'm starting to get frustrated. Even as a non-Jets fan, the sense of urgency, seeing Buster Skrine get exposed like that, what the heck is going on that this guy is looking lost at the position? The team is getting run all over. Dave Johnson's running everywhere, untouched. So your once dominant line is getting run on. And then I look at the sidelines, and I just see Todd Bowles' face, and he's like, where's the sense of urgency? Where's the emotion? Where is anything that says, guys, let's go? And he's telling all the media, oh, we're close. You're not close.
No, we're not.
You're halfway across the planet.
It's bad. I'm glad you're so passionate about this because I have kind of gotten to the point where I've accepted what we are this year. First, to let you give you my thoughts on screen. There was a series last night, or on Monday night rather, where John Brown ran the same 15-yard little comeback route, back shoulder, on 3 consecutive plays.
3 plays.
Screen covering him.
Right down
Boom,
the right
boom,
side.
boom.
Yep.
3 straight completions.
Yep.
Screen's playing on the outside now. He's out of position. He's a slot corner, so maybe that has something to do with it. But to me, he just looks disinterested.
Ironic, though, that the slot position is actually the most difficult position to play on the field.
And that goes for the disinterest, I think, extends to a lot of the players on the team.
That's well said.
Including our ever so fearsome front 4.
I think
Because I think they might just be starting to feel like, you know what? These guys suck behind us. They suck on the other side of the ball, so our effort's going to dip a little bit. Another point, past 2 weeks, we lost Decker, obviously. And then the big one last night, we were playing without David Harris, our big middle linebacker.
Yeah, that was huge, yeah.
And for me, you lose 2 guys like that, and for the production of the team overall to drop so severely says that this roster is way too top heavy. Okay, we have 0 depth.
Right.
Every team goes through injuries.
Right.
But the good teams have guys that can step in.
Right.
And other guys to take the pressure off of them.
Right.
The Jets don't have that. They haven't shown that. We have the top heavy roster. The defense, they're not even stopping the run anymore. They look disinterested. And then to your point on Bowles, I really wonder if he's starting to lose control of this team. If they're showing lack of motivation, they're not showing much fight. Fitz was terrible on Monday. I thought he led a lot of receivers to near death. There was one guy, I think it was Peak.
Sharon Peak.
That almost got his head taken off.
Yep.
I think he was bleeding from that to leave the game.
Yep.
And quick stat here, I believe last year we were the best red zone team in the league.
Wow.
This year we are the worst.
Okay.
The absolute worst.
Right.
And maybe that has to do with Decker being out, but the line is playing bad. Nobody is stepping up, receiving the ball. Nobody can run the ball. It's just bad everywhere.
It's a sad state of affairs for sure.
Quick thing to wrap up the team, and then I'll give you a little fantasy spin. Prior to the game Monday night, Gino had made some comments about how he was unhappy that he wasn't starting. Like typical Gino being a diva, blah,
Right.
And Bowles was asked to counter his statements, and Bowles basically said bench players are on the bench for a reason, and they should keep their mouths shut until they get the opportunity to play and then prove themselves on the field.
He did get peeved.
Now with news of Gino becoming the starter,
Yes.
I think the immediate reaction is, wow, Bowles is backing off of his word. He's, But I really wonder, because we've seen this before from the Jets, if this isn't coming from above the head coach. Whether it's McCagnon, who I don't think is the prime suspect. My guy is Woody Johnson. I think it's coming from all the way at the top, the owner, because he has done this before, meddled in the quarterback affairs.
Right.
I don't think it's McCagnon because of that reason. Woody has a prior history, and because Gino is not a McCagnon guy.
Okay.
If McCagnon were the one pulling the trigger, I think he would rather see one of his guys, Petty or Hackenberg, take the field before Gino.
Right. And I agree. And I think with the sense that I'm getting from the atmosphere is a lot of Jet fans are upset that Gino's starting. More than half, I would say, because they've seen what they know what Gino is.
We feel like we know already.
They're asking, well, why isn't Petty starting? Why isn't Petty starting?
Yeah.
The reality is that Bryce Petty had a shoulder injury for the last few weeks, and he is not physically ready, nor has he had the practice time.
Right.
So that kind of forces the Jets' hand. Now, the question really becomes is, do you start Fitzpatrick still until Petty is ready? Do you even bother with Gino? My answer is yes. This is a perfect opportunity to just give him a couple more games, see what he's like. He looked bad again against Arizona.
Yeah.
Couple zip throws to start, but then he had the fumble.
Held on to the ball too long.
And the Cardinals had not had a sack all game.
Yeah.
So he comes in and he gives up a sack on his first drive.
Yeah.
Shocker. And then he throws the pick. It's 4th down. I get it. Easy to cover for a turnaround. But I don't know. I've always had a soft spot for Geno. I don't know why.
I don't know why either.
I don't know why, but I think it just doesn't make sense at this point to start Fitzpatrick. Best case scenario, he plays pretty good. Maybe someone gets hurt, they get interested, you boost his trade value a little till.
I don't really.
Care.
For me, it's a lost season for the Jets.
Okay,
Yeah.
but Geno, you're done with. He's not a Jet next year.
I mean, I would like to see all the quarterbacks on the roster in an ideal world get starts or playing time for the remainder of the season.
Well, I don't know if that'll happen.
I don't know if it'll happen either.
But I think Patty would at least be starting the last 6 games. You have to think.
And but for me, it's a lost season where I don't see us coming back and doing much of anything.
Right.
So let's move on. Fantasy spin. A lot of people are concerned about Marshall. I am not one of those people.
Okay.
I think the volume will still be there. He had a really tough matchup on Monday night against the Cardinals with Patrick Peterson shadowing him over.
He did.
He made a terrific catch. I don't know if you saw with a hand in his face against Peterson. I think he went 3 for 70, which honestly isn't all that bad.
No, it's not going to
against
kill
one of
you.
the best corners in the league. You hope for a touchdown, but they're going to feed him the ball. He's the only legitimate receiver left on the team. I think a lot of people were high on Nunwa for a while. We said it last week. He was better when Decker was in the lineup.
Yeah, he's got to play the third fiddle. He's like Devontae Adams. He can't be the second guy there. The only thing that I noticed when Geno came in is I don't think Marshall had a target when Geno was in the game. So you think probably get it to your best receiver there, buddy.
I'm not worried about
concerned
Marshall
for you?
again. No.
Okay.
And so moving to the running backs, that's the only fantasy talking point. It's really tough to get behind either guys right now as more than a flex play.
Absolutely.
Jets are going to be playing from behind more often than not, even as the schedule gets a little easier as they move on.
Yeah. They look so good against the Bills. I did not have the foresight to be like, this is a perfect sell high opportunity because it looked like he
legitimately
looked like
we had Decker, the line was healthier,
right?
But once again, you lose a couple of guys and everything's to shit. So let's get off of the Jets.
Yeah.
Let's move into something else.
Okay. Next are the New York Giants, who did cover last week, and I want to talk about. So you asked me about OBJ last week. I think you asked me what do I think of the celebration thing or the whatever. Is it a distraction?
Yeah.
And I think we both kind of felt like, it doesn't bother me that much. It's getting overblown by the media.
But now,
I was very, very irritated with him. The same frustration I felt on Monday night for the Jets, I felt watching that game on Sunday for Giants fans. He scores, which I loved. Because
it was such a wow moment that when he scored that second touchdown, when he took his helmet off and everything.
Yeah.
I thought that was just incredible.
From a fantasy perspective, he broke off those post/slant routes that we were talking about.
The run after the catch.
That is literally, we almost predicted that, or we said that's what happens, that's what we need. It happened. But the fact that he predictably did that and he goes back to the net, takes the helmet off, 15-yard penalty. I don't even want to know what would have happened to him, to the team, to the media, had the Ravens come back and won that game. If Flacco doesn't miss Wallace on the outside, Ravens win that game, and we're talking about something else.
Yeah.
This has gotten to a point where it's ridiculous. I'm done with it. I see what people... Before, to me, this is what I saw before. I saw a Dez. I saw a Terrell Owens where... they were irritating because, you'd see them shouting and shaking their head on the sideline, but I can deal with that. The guy wants to win the game. This sort of stuff pisses me off because now you're legitimately jeopardizing the game with a penalty that should not happen, and so I don't know. I'm kind of done with him from that standpoint. I get the sentiment. Move on from this guy, but he's too valuable.
I see what you're saying. I can jive with that. I think part of it for him, there was a lot of build up, a lot of tension, and I think I'm not a football player. I can't really relate on that level, but I would think that the media tends to get under these guys' skin
Right.
often, and they were the ones that really blew up this whole net thing. The cameras were on him. Like, freaking hit the net and they hit him in the face. It was everywhere. SportsCenter
Right.
showed it every day. Everybody was talking about it. So this was kind of his FU moment to the media, to everybody like that, which I kind of like and respect. But at the same time, yes, he puts his team in a bad position with the penalty. It's an eyes on me moment, which I can go either way with.
It just seems to be recurring with him now. And then this isn't the first time. He's acting like a jackass.
He likes the spotlight. That's who he is. And you know what? We've seen it with these other receivers before. We've seen it with the TOs, the Randy Mosses.
Yeah,
that's what you get. That's what you get.
I really don't think they were acting as much of a jackass as this guy.
But compared to what guys are doing now, sure. But back then, when T.O. pulled the Sharpie out of his sock, Randy Moss mooned the crowd at Green Bay. That was huge.
No, I know.
Huge stuff back then.
Joe Horn had the cell phone. That was
Joe Horn with the cell phone. That was
my
great.
favorite.
That was fantastic.
I really love that one.
Joe Horn, big name.
So point is, a lot of Giants faithful are very irritated, especially the older crowd. I would say the
traditionalists.
Traditional 25 and above, even maybe 30 and above.
You know what the easy comeback is though for the Odell sympathizers is just like, the Giants wouldn't have been in the game without Odell. Period.
I understand, but
he single-handedly won that game.
But he could have also single-handedly lost them that game.
Sure.
Right, and it's the warm-ups too. He's going out. It's the one-handed catches. It's the Cinderella. I don't know. But he's back fantasy-wise. He's back fantasy-wise. Plug him in your lineups. Great buy low if you had the chance. Window's now closed. And that's really it. What we'll move into now is we had another week of some rough injuries.
Who went down?
So we didn't have as many as what was it? Week 3, which was Armageddon. Week 2, I think. Week 2 is Armageddon. Primary injury would be Edward Lacy, who gutted out a pretty decent game for what he had against the Cowboys. But he did not look right during the game.
No.
We think that he's gonna ice it. It'll be fine. He might play on Thursday. He's gonna be sore. No. The guy is now seeing a specialist.
He's done for how long?
He could very well be put on IR soon.
Okay.
Which would imply that he misses at least 8 weeks, and if he needs surgery, would put him out for the rest of the year.
IR is done for the year.
All right? James Starks is missing 4 weeks, so guess what? The next best guy in the roster is a wide receiver, number 88, Ty Montgomery, who I would think you would agree is probably the most valuable this week.
Yes, absolutely.
But
top waiver target this week, probably, I would say.
Or
who?
The guy they just signed.
No. Niall Davis? No.
Niall Davis. Let me tell you, not in every league that I played in, Niall Davis went at least $25. People were spending a quarter.
I think
of
that's
their
people
budget.
reacting to the name brand of the Packers offense.
Agreed.
And they want the running back there.
Agreed.
Because they think it's a super valuable position. But as we've seen from Lacy this year so far, not that valuable.
Not valuable anyway. They were like last in the league in rushing
Even
attempts.
dating back to last year, I don't think the position was that valuable. Packers offense as a whole has been very much down this year.
Right.
Extending into last year.
Right.
Continuation of that. So going back to the spot, Ty Montgomery is expected to see a lot of snaps out of the backfield as he did last week. I also expect to see a lot of Cobb out of the backfield as well.
Yep.
So if you have Cobb, you can feel very confident playing him.
Right.
I think he's good for a few rushes and upwards of 10 targets again.
Okay.
He's become probably the most reliable Packers receiver.
Okay.
Extending beyond Jordy, from me at least.
Right.
Jordy's still not looking full strength.
No, Jordy had touchdowns in every game except for last week, as you know.
Right.
But I think the real story here, besides the running back situation, which again, I didn't want to be the guy to pay for Niall, because it's not going to be worth it. Just as a
At
career
least not this
runner,
week
he's been
either.
terrible.
At least not this week either.
Oh,
If
of
they're
course.
playing on the short week, there's no way he
Right.
knows enough of the playbook to make an impact.
Agreed. The story
I don't
of
even know how much he'll see the field, to be honest.
no, he might not. I mean, he just got signed.
That's
I
what
know
I'm
Justin
saying,
Forsett. He did play some snaps for the Lions after getting signed just days before.
Yeah.
So maybe he sees a field for a couple snaps, but he's not going to do much. So it's definitely a Montgomery start for Week 8. But I think the story with the Packers is Aaron Rodgers. I'm officially concerned.
You gotta be.
I'm officially concerned because now this goes back to, I could say this goes back to
Back to
last
year.
season, right?
Yeah.
His 16-game stretch looks awful.
Mm-hmm.
He does not have a 300-yard game this year.
It's almost like he's too
Cody
cocky.
Kessler.
He's too cocky. He walks around with this arrogance about him in the locker room when people
Right.
press him with questions. He's like, relax.
Yeah.
Relax.
No, I know.
You know what?
Is
Pal?
Olivia,
He's supposed to be the best quarterback in the league, you know?
Yeah.
Brady doesn't have years like this, games like that.
no.
So you got to bring him down a couple ticks. Fantasy wise, if you have him, are you dropping him? Are you looking to stream? What are you doing with him? And this is another thing I wanted to hit on when we were talking about this trade earlier. Drafting those early quarterbacks, drafting Rodgers especially, it handcuffs you
Yes.
because you feel like, well, I spent the early round pick on this
You can't
guy.
drop
I
him.
can't move from him.
Right.
So I have to keep playing him despite these 12, 13-point efforts. And at the quarterback position, you're not going to win if you're putting up less than 20 points a game.
You're absolutely correct, and that's exactly what I'm experiencing now. I had A-Rod in round 4. Could have taken Jordan Reed instead. That was who I was in between.
Yeah.
And it screwed me. Luckily, somehow, I don't know why, but what is he, like the second or third rated quarterback? Matt Stafford was on waivers. I bet aggressively for him. I got him, and A-Rod's is going on the bench for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
I don't know. I don't see anything that
I would be looking to shop him based on just name brand still.
If
Like
he can
people,
get anything.
people still believe that like the Packers offense
I agree.
is great.
And I'll tell you why. Matthew Berry of ESPN still has him ranked as the 3rd best quarterback for the rest of the season. I think that's insane.
You can't do that.
I think that's insane. I mean, you pull up the quarterbacks very quickly. I take Matt Ryan over him. I take Matt Stafford over him. I take Andrew Luck over him. I take Drew Brees over him. I take Philip Rivers over him. I take Cam Newton over him. And then you can start pulling threads with the Mariotas, the Cars, and
But
what
once
have
you get that low, wouldn't you rather be in the position to stream and have that roster flexibility?
Absolutely.
Okay.
So it's a huge problem. Again, the 300-yard game concern, that's incredible. It's a team that doesn't run the ball.
Yeah.
You don't run the ball, but you don't have 300 yards passing?
Yeah.
I don't get it. So move on from him if you can. That's Lacey. McCoy had a huge scare facing the inept 49ers. It looked like the side of his knee got bashed very hard. He took off his helmet right away, which made me think,
Never good.
torn
Never
ACL,
good. Yeah.
time for Mike Gillespie. Well, now it turned Gillespie.
How do you pronounce that?
Gillespie.
Gillespie?
Gillespie?
I believe it's Gillisley.
Gillisley, fine.
A Florida Gator.
But now what's the latest with McCoy?
McCoy was removed from practice early with an apparent hamstring injury.
Right.
Roto World reports it as being mild to moderate. McCoy, I feel like, has had a history with soft tissue injuries like this.
Yes, he does.
And especially at the running back position, any injury to the lower body is a significant injury. So the way I see it, if you have that spot where you can pick up Gillisley, I would definitely do it, because even if McCoy is just out this week, this Bills team is going to run the ball.
Yes.
Gillisley can run it. His efficiency
he's
has
looked
been pretty
good
good
when he's been in there.
Spot duty.
Yep.
This is a
Touchdown
guy.
last week?
If he's starting Gillisley, I think you can plug him into your lineup immediately
For sure.
with confidence. I'm not even sure who their opponent is this week, but I would feel good about it.
Agreed, yeah. So huge scare avoided, but all of a sudden
They're
he's
in
back
Miami. In Miami,
That's
sorry.
That's a fantastic.
And I
matchup.
would be perfectly happy starting Gillisley.
Right.
I will probably be starting Gillisley on my 1-5 team in Hank Fraley.
There you go. So that's just out of need. But yeah, so McCoy definitely in danger of missing this game. And obviously these hamstring injuries can linger. So that could be worse.
Big worry. Big worry for
Carlos Hyde will miss Week 8 with a shoulder injury. That would give Mike Davis a start, who supplants Sean Drawn. Carlos Hyde, I believe, tied for second in the league with 6 rushing touchdowns, so tied with a couple other guys.
Yeah.
Latavius Murray should rejoin the Raiders this week. That is a spinning carousel I want no part of. And of course, one of my teams, I own all 3 of those running backs.
Aye.
So it's a total disaster.
How did you get into that?
I got into that by trying to save my GD season, thinking that DeAndre Washington was the answer. And he's not the answer. And I'm very concerned about my Raiders. Last week was a huge letdown. We're at home. I knew the Chiefs were going to come out hot, but I know the rain had something to do with it, whatever. Amari Cooper has another great game in your face, better than Crabtree. I'll take that much of a credit.
Yeah.
But this was very discouraging to see from the home team. They're now 4-2. The defense looked awful.
I would be concerned now too, because you know what, that gunslinger mode car throwing for 300 yards can only take you so far. You need to play defense and you need to run the ball, and the Raiders have done none of either.
That's absolutely correct.
So far on the season.
Yeah.
So I'd be concerned.
You start to realize with these Raiders now that the big concern with them is they don't have the time of possession is low for them because their defense is so bad, because the offenses against them can get chunk gains when running the ball.
Yeah.
That the second half of the game just really gets away from them. So a tougher matchup than you think against Jacksonville. I'm concerned there. I'll move on. Doug Martin. What happened this week?
Dougie.
Was due back.
Everybody expecting him back. I guess his recovery was not going so well.
Shocker.
He was a target for me, a trade target for me, actually, coming out of the bye. I was like,
because he's facing the...
Well, the rest of his schedule just looks fantastic. I think he has the number one... he has the weakest schedule the rest of the season for running backs. So it's looking great for him. Who are they playing this week?
It starts with the San Francisco 49ers.
Starts with a 9.
I specifically point out because that is far and away the most luscious matchup that exists in fantasy today is a running back against the 49ers.
Right.
Sans Navarro Bowman. He has a setback. That boosts...
Talking Jaquiz.
Jaquiz, really high up ranks. You're playing DFS
He's going to be
this
starting,
week. Are you kidding me? The discount? I don't know his price. I would assume it's probably less than $20 though, because he's Jaquiz Rogers.
Yeah.
Gotta plug that guy in your lineup. Have to pick that guy in DFS. He could go.
If he's still available, pick up Jaquiz for this week. Definitely.
Holy smokes!
Martin owners, you gotta cross your fingers and pray.
What better else can pray you do? At this point. Yeah, this setback does not sound good. This can be a multi-week thing. What's the latest blurb on Murray? Good practice.
Latavius?
Yeah.
Clicking out. Returns to practice.
Oh, boy. Role will be in doubt. Okay. Yeah. Stay away from Raiders backfield.
It's going to go back to, what else do you expect? I expect it to be all 3 guys getting touches.
Right.
None being that effective.
Right.
Or impactful for fantasy purposes.
Well,
so I would not feel comfortable starting Richard Washington or Murray.
The only thing that you can hope for as a Murray owner at this point is that among his 8 carries, which may not happen even this week, but maybe next week, is that he gets the touchdown. He gets it back from Jamizaway Alawalaze.
Yeah.
But other than that, it's a disaster. Vincent Jackson, put on IR, 5 seconds. Pick up Cameron Brate, pick up Adam Humphries. You're taking Brate rest of the season. It's Adam Humphries for me.
All right.
That wraps up our injury roundup, although there's a nice little blurb there.
I want to get into 2 more injuries.
Yeah.
Terrell Pryor
has
a hamstring. He's saying he's doing his best to get back out there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a little worried. If he's not healthy, the Browns' offense looks horrible.
Not well.
So Pryor owners are hoping he can make it back. And then I think we have to talk Ben Roethlisberger on the impact it has on the Steelers' offense.
Yep.
So Roethlisberger, They're saying now he can return in 2 to 3 weeks. The original timetable was 4 to 6 weeks. We don't really know. It's going to be a multi-week injury, that's for sure.
I saw another one that said 4 to 6 today, though.
Right. So we're going to say, let's just, for the short term, because I'm not a doctor.
Well, I am, but I'll refrain.
Okay. Assuming we're not doctors.
Okay.
Let's just run down the list. Le'Veon Bell, are you knocking him down at all? I mean,
I'm knocking him up.
Up.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Way up. I feel blessed. I feel Bell.
Number
This
one
is
still?
Oh, yeah.
And beyond.
Yeah, no, in terms of running backs, I'm going to take David Johansen, then I'm taking Ezekiel Elliott, and then I'm taking Mr. Bell. Time to ring my Le'Veon Bell. And the reason is, uptick in volume. Brown goes down for me.
How much more volume could he really get?
He just will be the offense.
Okay.
That's it.
All right.
Maybe he doesn't get 25 carries. Now he gets 35 carries.
All right. So you're high on Bell. I think he stays steady.
Fine.
Brown, what does Brown do for you?
What Brown does for me is, and I'd have to go look
What can Brown do for you?
Is you saw firsthand what happened when he does not have Ben Roethlisberger. It's not good.
It's a downgrade for Brown.
When he had Vic, when he had Landry Jones, he was a disaster.
Okay.
Disaster. Concerned.
I'm with you on that.
Concerned.
And on top of the fact that he already wasn't even that great this year. I mean, his production was not fantastic so far.
Certainly not like last.
He had no blow-up game. I feel like
The Chiefs. Not like
the number one overall pick. He caught, how many balls last year? 120 balls. I don't think he was on pace to do that again. I don't think he was.
Okay.
Sammy Coates, I'm benching.
Right.
Jesse James, you're benching.
Oh, Cowboy Jesse James. Right.
I don't think you'd feel comfortable playing anybody right now, except for Brown. You're still playing as like a 2 for me. I would knock his production down to that level.
Wow, so this is interesting. Fascinating, actually. Julio Jones, top receiver as of today. Antonio Brown, second-ranked receiver as of today. With 64 targets. That leads the league tied with T.Y. Hilton.
Yeah.
And he had 41 catches, which is probably second to A.J. Green. I don't think anyone else would sniff that. Jarvis Landry has 41. So he's second in the league in catches. And Eric...
What?
486 yards, which pales in comparison to Odell Beckham's 581 and Julio Jones's 656, but he had 5 touchdowns. So I wouldn't
he's
say
good.
He's very good.
For my expectations for him, he's not meeting them.
Fine.
That's what I'm getting at.
Okay, I totally agree with that. And what I love is seeing these top 3 receivers who are drafted 1, 2, 3 as
they are 1, 2, 3.
The 1, 2, 3 in terms of receiver. However, in terms of players, they are not. I think you're going to find some running backs ahead of them. And A.J. Green, probably the agreed upon 4th wide receiver.
Yeah.
He is ranked as the 4th wide receiver.
Interesting.
Hilton, Jones, your boy Fitz,
My boy Larry.
and then Amari Cooper. His sudden production is...
now imagine if he had those 4 touchdowns or 5 touchdowns that he should have...
Well, he'd probably be up right around
probably be right at the top.
So that's fascinating. Yeah, he's up to 585 on 60 targets. He needs to get the touchdowns up. Very fascinating. I didn't realize he really got to that level.
All right, so moving on from the injuries, what else do we have? Tell me.
To close out the show, appreciate you guys staying with us to this point. Quick sprints. There's no secret. Last week was an effing disaster in terms of my predictions. One of the worst weeks. Star pick was wrong again. And
Who was your star pick last week? Who'd you
the Steelers.
Steelers?
Let me tell you, last week was the most profitable week for Las Vegas in centuries. 80% of people put their money on the Steelers. Vegas is going to Vegas. They're taking a vacation because they are rich after last week. Huge.
All right.
Huge
So what do you
upset.
want to? You want to run through all of them, or you want to pick our favorites? I feel like
I tell you what.
running through all of them puts us in a tough spot.
I'm going to give one more shot at running off them. I'm not going to give you as
Alright,
much of a
fine.
fantasy breakdown.
Alright, fine.
I do want us to settle it though. Let's be men about it. Let's have some conviction.
Okay.
Let's take these kids out with confident picks.
Okay. Leading off Thursday night game, one of my more confident picks of the week. I have the Bears as 8-point underdogs on Bovada. I'm going with them to definitely keep it within one score. Packers have not shown enough on offense to blow them out. Bears on offense look good. Green Bay, real quick, down their top 3 corners. Big week for Cameron Meredith. Big week for Alshon Jeffrey.
Ooh, okay.
And I'm not afraid of playing Jordan Howard against this faux top run defense of Green Bay.
Not saying that Jordan Howard is Ezekiel Elliott, but
No.
but they got exposed.
And you know what? Real quick on Jordan Howard too, I want to touch on. A lot of people are worried about him because
touch all over.
Carey got all these carries, blah blah blah. But Jordan Howard still played like 65% of the snaps,
Yep.
which is like a normal percentage for the top running back on a team.
Right.
It's not a committee.
Right. I think
As
you're gonna
people
find that
are
percentage.
saying.
Okay.
That's everywhere.
Okay.
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 That's what I got on Jordan.
I would say that I think we can both agree, Frank, if you're watching, and I know you are, that Jeremy Langford is not getting the job back.
Langford's not getting his job.
I don't know what you're talking about.
This goes back to the game where Langford got hurt. Before Langford got hurt in that game, Howard had more touches already than him. He was already taking over before Langford got hurt.
Well
so that's all
said.
I'm going to say on that.
Okay.
Take the Bears plus 8, whatever you can get them. If they're 7 or higher, take the Bears to cover. This is it's a Thursday night game. Anything can happen.
Agreed.
But the games are sloppier. Packers missing their guys. Let's move on.
Confident pick for me. Bears might even win that game.
Bears, I wouldn't be surprised.
But anyway, you're
Go
taking
ahead.
the Bears for sure. Giants at LA Rams.
In London.
In
Not a
London,
true home
not a
game
true
for
home
LA.
game. My take on this is Giants. I think they do step up again.
Ride the
I think-
momentum from last week.
I think Beckham
agree.
has another huge game,
Yeah.
exposing those corners. I know that the Rams have been hot. You guys know it. Kenny Britt was the top pickup this week. If you don't know it, now you know.
I think Giants are slowly getting healthier, both on defense. Rashad
Yes.
Jennings starting to return full health too. See if he can give a boost to the run game.
Yep.
I'm going Giants.
Gotta go Giants there. But yeah, the fun fact is that the Rams, who we literally thought were the worst team in the league after week 1,
Yeah.
are now a team that scores 30 points a game. So this is not a very easy pick, but it's just a gut. For me, we think it's a Giants win right there. Washington at Detroit. Detroit favored by 1. Total toss-up for me. However, assuming that Jordan Reed doesn't play, I'm going to go Detroit.
Detroit. Ooh. This is a tough one.
It's basically a pick 'em.
Basically a pick 'em. I'm going to go with the home team. All else equal. Stafford, I think, gets a little bit of an edge over Cousins. Washington, I know they played very well last week. They
They did.
ran the hell out of the ball.
They did. Matt Jones looked great.
They're on a little win streak too, I believe. But
4 in a row.
I want to see it. I want to see it again.
Right? They
Matt
started
Jones.
0-2. Now they won 4 games.
I believe so. I'll go Detroit too. Home team.
Okay.
Taking
Perfect. Next, Minnesota at Philadelphia. Minnesota favored by 2.5. I am surprised that Minnesota isn't 20-point favorites. Okay? My rationale. The Eagles are ice cold.
Yeah.
Ryan Matthews is a bench for me. Any Eagles skill player is a bench for me. That's right, I'm talking Jordan Matthews. If you've got a fringe, Jameson Crowder, start him over Jordan Matthews. You're not going to get anything from Jordan.
I think the book might be out on Wentz.
Yeah.
Might start to be out.
Dropping huge down in the rankings.
And Vikings, if you haven't realized it by now, they're the best defense in the league. Sorry, Ron.
Sorry, Ron.
But they are a top defense in the league.
Yeah.
And I just don't see Philly, to overcome that. So.
Other fun fact, Minnesota has covered every single game this year.
Single game, that's
You
right.
want a star pick, you want a safe money pick, this is your safe money pick right here. No doubt about
Minnesota
it.
coming off the bye as well? Did they play?
Yes.
Yeah.
Good
coming
point.
Off the bye.
Coming off the bye, they're well
Extra
rested.
time. Come on.
Get the guys. That's,
3
by the way,
points,
that's
come on.
yeah. That's why we had the Broncos was for Ronnie. We don't support the Broncos in any way. That's for Ronnie. Okay, so we're in agreement so far. Cleveland at Cincinnati. Cincinnati's favored by 10. I'm thinking Cleveland because Cincinnati has continued to disappoint, as so many sons have continued to disappoint their mothers, including us at times. But Kessler's shown that he can move the ball.
Yeah.
And Cincinnati, I mean, I'm frustrated. I'm frustrated with their defense. I'm frustrated with, I think A.J. Green should be having a better year than he's having. I'm frustrated with the run game. It's Cleveland for me. 10 points is a lot to
I'm
ask.
leaning Cleveland too. I feel like they've been pretty good as a dog this year. I mean, every game they're pretty much a dog.
Right.
Quick fact here too. Today, Vontae's perfect. Their top run defender, the linebacker, carted off the field at practice. They'll be missing him. Crowell. Could feel good about starting him.
And I'm so glad you brought this up. And I'll take a
Karma coming
quick
around.
pause. The karma train comes back to Vontae's perfect.
Yeah.
This guy's a dirty POS. He
Yeah.
goes after my guy,
Uh-huh.
the black unicorn, Marty Bennett with a
He
cheap
did, he
shot.
did.
Another cheap shot, and he'll get 75. And Marvin Jones has the audacity to defend his guy. No wrongdoing. This is a result of his history. No. Screw you. Screw the Bengals. And everyone who's affiliated with them except for Gio Bernard and A.J. Green. We're taking the Browns. We're on the Browns.
Covering. That's
Beautiful. We're on agreement.
it. Who else we got?
Indianapolis at Tennessee. Tennessee favored by 3.
Surprising. Actually, not really. Because
Because
you would expect Tennessee to run all over Indianapolis. And Mariota, who is, I think, both of our favorite quarterback streamer of the week, I would say.
Correct.
Him, maybe Winston, Dalton against Cleveland is a good streamer as well.
Correct.
But Mariota definitely at the top. He has shown he's very good in plus matchups and very much so-so in neutral to negative matchups.
Right.
So we're expecting another big week out of Mariota.
I'm taking the Colts, and the reason is I think that one way or the other, Andrew Luck keeps them in the game, even if they lose.
It's only three points for me. What do you have here?
3 points.
3 points. Okay.
I think the Colts
You're gonna-
can stay within that, if not win the game outright.
All right. I mean, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Colts won.
Bounce back week for the Colts.
But Tennessee at home, definitely a stronger defense than Indianapolis.
That's for sure.
Indy has one viable receiver as far as I'm concerned.
No, I hear that the logic. This is wrong. I get caught up in this random logic. We think we can map out the games and make so much sense. Yes, Tennessee has a better defense. Yes, DeMarco Murray, in theory, should be running all over their.
All right, I'm going with Tennessee. You're going with Indianapolis. We'll see you next week.
That's just a gut call right there. Baltimore at the Jets. It's a pick'em. Baltimore. Moving on.
Is it really a pick'em? How are the Jets even?
I have no effing idea.
What a joke. All right, Baltimore.
Baltimore,
I mean, that's easy
no
money,
doubt
though.
about it. That might be another star pick for you. I have
Easy
no idea how that's possible.
Betting against the Jets has been very fruitious this year.
Okay. Fun facts, actually, because I'm comparing to Bleacher Report. Bleacher Report disagrees with me. They think the Rams are going to cover there, and they agree with you. They think Tennessee is going to cover.
Okay.
Moving on.
Next game.
Second half of the games, Oakland at Jacksonville. Very Jacksonville favored by 1. Oakland, whatever. It just
You're taking all of them?
yeah.
I'm going to go Jacksonville. Jacksonville's defense underrated. I think we're going to continue to see the Oakland slide here. Allen Robinson, big spot for him. Hopefully has his breakout game, gets over 100 yards and a touchdown.
Right.
I think it happens this week.
I know. This is purely a fan call. My brain last week wanted to say Kansas City. My brain this week wants to say Jacksonville. My heart's going to go with Oakland.
Yeah.
And that could be costing me points out of pure pride. I totally get that, though.
Jacksonville also.
Oakland was playing above their heads, I think, and that defense is better than we think.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. New Orleans, who they? At Kansas City, Andy Reid's Chiefs. Kansas City's favored by 6.5 because they're in, obviously, Kansas City. They're not in New Orleans, where I shouldn't have gone with the Carolina last week. You told me correctly.
Yeah.
It was all day Saints.
Yeah. I'm going to flip here. I'm going KC to continue their upward trend.
Okay.
I think Charles and Ware both have viable days to
You
start
still
in fantasy.
taking Ware over Charles?
Yes.
Absolutely.
But if you have Charles, I would feel comfortable playing him in this matchup.
Sure.
On the other side of the ball, sneaky, maybe not so sneaky to some smarter guys, but I think Michael Thomas,
Who showed up for you last
scored
week?
three weeks in a row with a touchdown,
Mm-hmm.
filling in that Marcus Colston role.
Right.
I would not be surprised if he's the most valuable New Orleans receiver from here out.
Right.
More so than Brandon Cooks, more so than Willie Snead,
Okay.
Fleener. I can see it easily. Thomas ascending to the top.
Right.
Just supported by Breeze.
Right.
He's seeing consistent targets. He's producing both home and away. I like him a lot.
Right. And, yeah, I mean, on that, nice to see owners getting some value back for their Fleener pick, assuming you held on. And if you picked him up because some angry owner didn't, good for you. It looked good last week. Very nice catch in traffic. The arrow's up, but I agree Michael Thomas, for me, is probably the most exciting there. Buffalo, red.
Who's your
hot.
pick?
My pick is New Orleans. I don't think
You think
they
New
get
Orleans
beat by a
keeps it tight?
full touchdown.
Okay.
I don't. I think the Chiefs can still be had, just as the Steelers did that to them, although the Steelers might have been home. I get it. But 6.5 is a lot for me.
I think KC kind of does what they did to Oakland last week.
Just run it?
Keeps New Orleans off the field with the running game.
Okay.
I could see that.
Which would prevent them from scoring, and therefore you think they cover?
The Chiefs.
Cover.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm going to go New Orleans. I'm just going to do it.
All right, fine. Who's the next game?
But that's fine. Buffalo, red hot, at Miami. Buffalo's favored by 3.
3.
I think it's easy for me. It's Buffalo. I know Miami's feeling good after that win.
Yeah.
I know.
These divisional games are always tough, especially the AFC East, because
What if McCoy doesn't play?
McCoy doesn't play.
Does that change your mind?
I think it's a tight game either way. I still feel more comfortable taking Buffalo because they're the hotter team,
Right.
better defense, more
Right.
consistent running the ball.
Right.
And at this point, I'd
It's
even
a
say,
porous Miami defense.
and I'd even say at this point, the better quarterback is Tyrod Taylor.
Right. Okay. So we're all on Buffalo. I completely agree there.
And I'm not buying Jay Ajayi from last week. Sorry.
Right. Agree.
Not buying it.
There's your,
Not
fantasy
buying
take there. Not buying that. Well, here's the other news. I didn't get to it earlier during our injury segment, but Arian Foster got in a full practice.
Okay.
So he could very well be seeing the field. However, you still may be seeing him as the 1B passing guy to Jay Ajayi's 1A.
Either way, I'm not feeling either of them.
Okay. I like that.
Either.
I agree. So start your Bills, Robert Woods. It's been ugly on the way there, but he has been reasonably effective the last 3 games.
Yeah.
And you start whoever's playing running back for the Bills 100%. Charles Clay could be a nice little redemption game, too. He comes back to Miami, faces his arch nemesis. Something to think about.
Okay.
San Diego at Atlanta. Atlanta favored by 6.5. I'm taking Atlanta because I think this team is the real deal. And I think, hot take, Atlanta represents the NFC in the bowl
Wow.
of Super.
That is a hot take.
Hot.
So you believe? I mean, I think everybody's on board with their offense. It's the defense that has been surprising this year.
They got screwed out of that game out of Seattle.
Yeah.
Julio was absolutely mugged. They deserved that win. That was complete BS.
Yeah.
And I think Atlanta. That's my dark horse for the NFC Super Bowl pick.
You know what? This game is weird for me because I want to pick Atlanta.
Okay.
They're one of the best teams in the league.
Okay.
They're at home. but something keeps bringing me back to San Diego.
Oh boy. Which of
They've
course
been
means
playing these teams tough all year. They took it to the Broncos last week.
Yeah, they did.
They
did.
deserve a much better record than they have.
Okay.
I'm gonna say San Diego, maybe not to win, but I think they keep it within a score here.
Okay. So we disagree on that too. I'm going to take Atlanta.
That's fine. I could be super wrong.
Okay.
I could also see them losing by 14, but I'm gonna go San Diego.
Fine. Tampa Bay at San Francisco. Tampa Bay favored by 47.5.
Are you reading that right?
I'm kidding. That is the over/under. Tampa Bay's favored by 2. Are you kidding me?
That's a shocking
This
spread.
is I feel very comfortable with this.
I do too. Coming off a bye.
I picked up the Tampa as a streamer.
Yeah. I expect them to kind of fix Winston in the bye because he's been struggling. But even so, game prior, they ran through Carolina.
Right.
So I don't really get where this one comes from.
I don't either.
It's a little surprising.
Is this one of those?
Kaepernick was not impressive.
No.
They're down Hyde.
No.
So I'm jumping on Tampa Bay.
He makes okay.
This reeks of one of those games where like Vegas knows something that we don't.
The classic. What was the last game that we got screwed on? Was it the Detroit game. I think
could've
we
been
were
every
like
game,
they
but-
knew something that we
Yeah.
didn't know. It was
But I don't know. I can't get off of Tampa Bay in this one.
I'm
2
not gonna
points.
hop
Come
off
on.
there.
Come on.
Start your Adam Humphrey. Start your Cameron Brate. Definitely start your Mike Evans. I think Evans gets in the end zone, and I think Jaquiz Rogers gets in the end zone. 49ers side, you start your Mike Davis just because of volume. You do not start Sean Drawn, and I think Torrey Smith has become fantasy relevant once
I
again.
wouldn't feel great starting him. though.
Do you start Matt Asiata or Torrey Smith
Aye.
as a second flex in a 14-teamer? Good lord.
I guess I'd go Smith because he has the chance to pop off a 50-yard touchdown.
And that's what I'm doing.
Whereas Asiata only realized the chance to give you like 20 and a touchdown.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. I'm going Smith there. So Smith back in our lives once again. New England at Pittsburgh. New England favored by 7. Obviously, Pittsburgh plays much better as home as we're
Much
finding
better.
out. But I don't know.
I'm still going New England.
I think you got to go New England.
Can't bet against
The
Bill.
way
Can't bet
that
against
they
Brady.
stepped it up in that second half. Beautiful.
No way. Down Ben Roethlisberger,
Yeah.
Pittsburgh. This is a show me game.
Yeah.
That they can produce points.
Who gets into the end zone for you for New England?
God.
LeGarrette Blount once again, who has 6 touchdowns, or no?
I don't know. Pittsburgh plays stiffer run defense than they do pass defense. I feel like this is a Tom Brady game, and I don't want to rub it in your face, but James White
I know.
again,
I know.
huge game,
Huge game.
huge game.
Huge game.
He's the guy in
I
the
know he's the
backfield.
guy.
I
I
mean,
know he's the guy.
Blunt's not worthless
No, because he gets he'll probably keep getting this late
because he's
touchdown.
supported by the super efficient offense, and
Right.
they're always in the red zone. But James White, I think,
I hear you.
is the guy.
I hear
He's
you.
the guy.
I'm not happy about it, but I agree.
Okay.
Yeah, Pittsburgh we talked about. I don't know what that accent was, but we're taking New England.
Taking New England.
Okay. Beautiful there. I agree there. Hoping for a Marty Bennett touchdown once again. Gronk looked amazing.
Yeah,
oh
Gronk
my
looked great.
good lord.
Full participant in practice removed from
Full
the injury
parties, man.
report,
That's
too.
right. That's right. I still get Edelman owners. Be concerned. Be concerned. Hogan owners, be concerned. This to me looks like a James White, Rob Gronkowski, LeGarrette Blount offense. That's what it looks like to me week to week. Edelman has become second fiddle.
Scratch your LeGarrette Blount. Get off LeGarrette Blount.
I'm gonna stay on LeGarrette Blount.
All right.
I'm gonna keep hitting that blunt.
Okay, so let's rank
Fine.
the skill players. Gronk is number 1, obviously.
Yeah,
Number 2, James White.
sure. And number 3, LeGarrette Blount.
I'll say Edelman rest of the year. In a half-point PPR?
Absolutely not.
Half-point PPR.
Edelman's done absolutely nothing.
Edelman's going to be better than Blount.
No,
rest of
because
the
Blunt's
season.
going to finish with 12 touchdowns.
Sorry, we'll see.
Okay.
We'll find out.
Fine. Whatever you want. A funny story from the week 2. Bill Belichick is done with the Microsoft Surface.
Yeah.
He absolutely hates it, and I just think it's hysterical. I used to be an Apple hater, but I don't know if this would happen with the iPad.
He seems more like a marble notebook kind of guy.
That's
to
right.
me.
That's right. That's right. So we're down on the surface rest of the season. Okay. Second to last game, Seattle at Arizona. That's got to be the Sunday night game.
Gotta be.
So that'll be Chris Collinsworth. Arizona coming off a
matchup.
dominant win against the Jets. Arizona's favored by 2 at home, and I guess that I would pick Seattle. For me.
I would.
For me.
Ooh. It's a tough one, but Cardinals haven't shown me too much this year so far. Seattle has. They won against a very good team.
Right.
In Atlanta.
Right.
And as underdogs, I'm still taking them. I think they still have number 1 pass defense, and they're very tough against the run.
Right.
I think David Johnson has a much harder time this week.
Yep.
Than he did.
That's well said, and as worried as and concerned I am is about Russell Wilson, which hurts because I have stock in that league, which I don't want to talk about. I think that they get it done. I think that they get it done. So,
all right, so we're taking the Seahawks
Monday
as a
night
dog.
game. This is why do they keep making Monday night games that you know are going to be SHIT shows? This has disaster spelled all
At the beginning of the
over.
year, we had higher expectations for the Texans, though, didn't we?
I know. I guess.
And they were a playoff team last year. And the Broncos won the Super Bowl.
Okay, so it's Denver's favored by 7.5.
Yeah.
In Colorado, where half the crowd will be smoking the ganj, if you will.
The Pots.
The pot. I think Osweiler struggles immensely against the dominant Denver defense.
Obviously.
I think Lamar Miller stays relevant though.
Yeah.
And I say that because the Broncos have been run on.
Aren't these offenses kind of the same? Like, the quarterback play has been
Right?
Both teams can run the ball,
Right?
and they both play great defense against the pass.
Right?
Broncos number 1 against the pass, I believe.
Right?
Texans are right up there with them,
Right?
but both like middle of the road, maybe a little bit below average against the run.
Right.
They kind of profile as the same team.
That is a fantastic point. What I will say there is I would say that the Texans are significantly worse at the run, and I say that because they've been openly getting gouged by the run.
Texans?
The Texans looked horrible.
Yeah.
Frank Gore was the first 100-yard runner against them in 4 years.
Yeah, you give up 100 yards against Frank Gore.
4 years.
You're having a rough night.
You're having a very bad night. So without J.J. Watt, it looks rough.
Yeah.
Credit to Jadeveon Clowney though for the bull rush on the quarterback was fantastic.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
But they lost Kareem Jackson to a broken foot.
Really? I didn't know that. That's a
So
good
that's not a good injury for them. I think that pass defense is going to be a little less dominant. I could see Demaryius Thomas and Emmanuel Sanders kind of recovering a little bit, having a nice game. C.J. Anderson goes off for 100 yards. I think Lamar Miller does get 100 total yards, and I'm just hoping for a punch-in. But other than that, I could see Denver just out-coaching, out-crowding, and outscoring these Texans.
I think you make a good argument, and I was kind of on the fence because of how the team's profiled.
Right.
But you just might have brought me over to the Denver side.
Okay. Well, there we go. So that'll do it. That was a lot to go through. I wish you guys the best of luck this week. Eric and I both very competitive in our Mansion League. He's 5-1. I'm 4-2. We're looking to repeat some success this week, but I don't know. I think you might have that one in the bag. I'm feeling very fringy on a lot of my teams, despite the fact that I'm 4-2 and 4-2.
I feel great about my Mansion team.
Yeah,
I do. And Hank Fraley, despite being 1-5,
yeah, big trade.
Big trade. I'm
trade.
coming up.
Listen, you finished the season at 8-5. You're in the playoffs.
I'm in the playoffs.
So
7-6 might sneak me in too, but I'm not going to go there.
That's right.
I'm not going to go there.
7-6
I'm going
could
undefeated.
very well get you in the
I'm
playoffs.
undefeated. And who's up this week for me? Matt. You going down?
Matt sucks.
Sorry, pal.
No, Matt's a great kid.
Sorry.
I love
No,
him.
he's done.
I'll be whoop his ass though.
Me too.
All right, kids. Big, other developments. The new Twitter. Follow us there. The Facebook.
What is
page.
our Twitter handle?
3_ND_out. And if you type in 3 and Out on Facebook and search, you will find us as well.
You'll find us in our shining faces.
That's right, shining from the grease and the sweat because we're trying so hard.
Yes.
So we'll do one last cheers and we'll take these kids out.
Salud.
See you next week.